Raymond's eyes flashed. "Stop it right now," he said in a low, dangerous tone. "Evelyn didn't even know the call reached me. She was on her deathbed when I came. Do you really think so little of her? She never asked for a kobo from you or anyone. She raised our son on her own with so much hardship, while I—" his voice broke slightly, "while I lived in comfort thanks to you, and you kept me in the dark." His mother's face had gone pale. She had never seen her son so passionate and defiant. We thought she moved on," she said weakly. "How were we to know she was pregnant? You were so young. It would have derailed your life. We thought—" "You thought only of yourselves and some social standing," Raymond replied, sadness and anger mingling. "Well, I don't care about any of that anymore. My life feels empty without Evelyn and Uzo. If you can't accept them, then that's your choice. But I will not abandon them. Not now, not ever." His mother reached out to touch his arm pleadingly. "Raymond, be reasonable. What about the company? The shareholders? You're going to marry a poor, ill woman who's been away for 17 years? Raise a boy from the slums as your heir? This isn't the fairy tale you think it is. We have to be practical." Raymond gently removed his mother's hand from his arm. "I am being practical. Evelyn needs help. Our son needs us. If doing the right thing tarnishes the company's image, then maybe I don't want that kind of company. And as for an heir, I can't think of a better one than Uzo. He's bright, kind, and he is my son. As far as I'm concerned, he's already family. You raised me to be responsible and to lead, and that's what I'm doing now, leading my own life." Mr. Attawale looked like he wanted to argue further, but Raymond held up his hand. "Enough. I didn't invite you here to debate. I hoped you'd come to show support, maybe even to apologize to Evelyn. But I see that was too much to expect immediately." He took a deep breath. "I love you both. You're my parents. But if you force me to choose, I choose Evelyn and Uzo. I won't let you bully them. Not anymore." With that, Raymond turned and opened the door to the hospital room to indicate the conversation was over. His parents stood there, stunned into silence by the ultimatum. They watched as Raymond went back to Evelyn's side, gently adjusting her blanket and checking her drip as if nothing had happened. Uzo stood protectively next to his mother, eyeing the older couple warily. He had heard enough bits of the conversation to sense the tension. He could tell these well-dressed strangers were Raymond's, no, his father's, he reminded himself happily, parents, and that they were not exactly welcoming to him or his mom. Evelyn had tears in her eyes, having heard much of what was said through the door. She felt a swell of love and respect for Raymond. He was finally standing up to his parents for them, something she knew must have taken a lot of courage given how domineering they were. She reached for Raymond's hand as he sat beside her. "Thank you," she whispered, squeezing it. He just gave her a tender smile and leaned in to kiss her forehead gently. Awkwardly, Raymond's parents stepped into the room. Mrs. Attawale cleared her throat, trying to regain composure. Her eyes flickered over Evelyn lying pale in the bed, then to Uzo, who stood tall by his mother, and finally rested on Raymond, who was holding Evelyn's hand. In that moment, perhaps she realized how much her son meant every word he said. She had a choice: hold on to pride and lose her son, or bend. Mr. Attawale looked at his wife uncertainly. He was still frowning, but less aggressively now. In the heavy silence, it was Uzo who unexpectedly broke the tension. Despite everything, he had been raised to be polite. He addressed them quietly. "Good afternoon, Sir Ma," using the respectful forms of address in Nigerian culture for elders. He wasn't sure what to call them. They were essentially his grandparents, a concept that felt strange, but he showed respect nonetheless. This simple gesture from the boy they barely knew seemed to disarm Raymond's mother. She took a tentative step forward. "Hello, Uzo," she said, her voice softer than before. Seeing him up close, perhaps she noticed he had Raymond's eyes and a polite demeanor that was hard to dislike. Mr. Attawale grunted a hello as well, not meeting Evelyn's eyes. Evelyn, mustering her courage, spoke up, though her voice was feeble. "Good afternoon, Sir Ma. It's been a long time?" Her tone was courteous, without resentment, despite the pain they had caused her. She had long since learned to survive by not harboring bitterness. Seeing them now, elderly and proud, she simply felt tired of the old feud. There was an uncomfortable pause. Then Mrs. Attawale, clutching her handbag tightly, said in a measured tone, "We heard you're having surgery tomorrow. We hope it goes well." It wasn't exactly an apology or warm wish, but it was something. "Yes," Mr. Attawale added gruffly. "We'll pray for a successful surgery." Raymond looked between his parents and Evelyn. It wasn't the warm reconciliation one might dream of, but it was civil. He knew his parents well enough to see that his ultimatum had shaken them. They might come around, slowly, if he remained firm. He decided to ease the situation. "Thank you for your good wishes," he said politely. "We're all hoping for that." He then introduced them properly. "Mother, father, this is Evelyn Okafor, and this is our son, Uzo." Hearing Raymond say, "our son," caused Mrs. Attawale's lips to press together, but she gave a stiff little nod to Uzo, which he returned. After a few more strained minutes of small talk, mostly Mrs. Attawale asking about the surgery time and which doctor was handling it, she seemed satisfied, perhaps impressed, when Raymond mentioned a top cardiologist. The elder Attawales took their leave. It was clear they were still struggling with the situation, but they had not erupted again. As they left, Raymond's mother turned and said to him quietly, "We'll talk later, Raymond." He simply nodded. When they were gone, Uzo let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. He looked at Raymond with concern. "Dad, what if they never accept us?" he asked softly. He had felt stung by Mr. Attawale's harsh words overheard about that boy from the slum, but tried not to show it. Raymond put an arm around Uzo's shoulders and pulled him close. "Even if they don't, it won't change anything. We are a family now. I meant what I said, Uzo. I choose you and your mum, always." Evelyn smiled at this, reaching out to take both their hands in hers. "We'll face whatever comes together," she added, her voice frail but determined. In that moment, the three of them felt united and strong, ready to face the next challenge, Evelyn's surgery and the path forward after. Healing and new beginnings. The morning of the surgery was tense. Evelyn was prepped and wheeled into the operating theater at dawn. Raymond and Uzo sat in the waiting area, their hands tightly clasped together in silent solidarity. Raymond tried to hide his worry to keep Uzo calm, but his mind was racing with prayers and memories. He couldn't bear the thought of losing Evelyn just when he'd found her again. Uzo, for his part, kept picturing his mother's smile and kept whispering, "She'll be okay, she'll be okay," as if saying it enough times would make it true. After several long hours, the surgeon finally emerged with a tired smile to inform them that the operation was successful. Evelyn was going to be okay. The damaged valve had been repaired, and her heart was already responding well. The relief that crashed over Raymond and Uzo was immense. Uzo let out a little shout of joy and hugged Raymond tightly. Raymond closed his eyes, murmuring a heartfelt thank you to the heavens. It felt like the first truly hopeful moment in a very long time. Evelyn's recovery was slow but steady. She remained in the hospital for some weeks to regain her strength. During this time, Raymond made sure everything was taken care of. He quietly paid off all the hospital bills, set up a comfortable private room for her, and even arranged for a nutritionist to help her with a diet that would aid her recovery. Whenever Evelyn protested that it was too much, Raymond would gently remind her, "Please, let me spoil you a little after all you've been through." He meant it lightly, but often his eyes would fill with sorrow, knowing how much she had suffered in his absence. As Evelyn grew stronger, laughter began to fill her days more often than tears. One afternoon, a few weeks after the surgery, Raymond and Uzo took her in a wheelchair for a walk in the small hospital garden. It was a sunny day, the scent of flowers in the air. Evelyn tilted her face up to the sun, feeling its warmth, and when she looked back at the two most important people in her life, she couldn't help but smile. Uzo was animatedly telling Raymond about a book he read, and Raymond was listening with such pride and attention, as if Uzo were describing the most brilliant idea in the world. Evelyn felt a swell of gratitude and love. She reached out and took both of their hands. "I don't know how to thank you," she said softly, emotion shining in her eyes. "You saved my life, and you've given Uzo what I alone never could." Raymond shook his head and knelt by her side, bringing her hand to his lips. "You owe me no thanks, Evelyn. I'm the one making up for lost time. You did an incredible job raising our son. I only wish I'd been there to lighten your burden." He looked deeply into her eyes. "But I'm here now, and I intend to be here forever, if you'll have me." Evelyn's heart fluttered. The tender, nervous tone in Raymond's voice was one she remembered from their youth. It was the way he sounded the first time he confessed his love to her by the lagoon. She glanced at Uzo, who grinned in encouragement, already guessing what was coming. With tears in his eyes and a hopeful smile, Raymond continued, "Evelyn Okafor, you have been the love of my life since I was a boy. Fate may have separated us, but it also brought us back together. I don't want to waste another moment. Will you marry me and make our family complete?" He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, revealing a simple yet elegant ring. He had bought it days ago, waiting for the right moment. Evelyn gasped softly, tears spilling over her cheeks, but these were tears of joy. Her voice trembled with happiness as she answered, Yes, of course I will, Raymond." A cheer went up from Uzo, who couldn't contain his excitement. He impulsively hugged his mother and then Raymond. All three of them embraced, Evelyn in the middle, laughing and crying at the same time. In that sunny garden, amidst blooming flowers, they sealed their engagement with a gentle kiss and radiant smiles. It was a moment of pure happiness none of them would ever forget. News of their engagement traveled quickly to Raymond's parents. Perhaps it was the sincerity of Raymond's conviction, or the undeniable joy they saw in him now. But something had shifted. The next week, to everyone's surprise, Raymond's parents hosted a private dinner and invited Evelyn, Uzo, and a few close relatives. It was an attempt at reconciliation. Evelyn was nervous about attending, but Raymond assured her he'd be by her side. Dressed in a simple but lovely gown, a gift from Raymond, who said he'd asked a designer friend to create something especially for her, Evelyn arrived on Raymond's arm, with Uzo walking proudly beside them in a new suit his father had gotten him. The dinner was cordial. Mrs. Attawale, humbled by the fear of losing her son, offered a genuine apology to Evelyn over soup, her voice quavering as she admitted, "We misjudged you, and we wronged all of you by keeping you apart. I am truly sorry, Evelyn." Mr. Attawale, never one for many words, simply added, "Yes, we apologize. We thought we were doing right by our son, but we see now the hurt it caused." Evelyn, with her gracious heart, accepted their apologies quietly. "We all did what we thought was best at the time," she said, not wanting to linger on the pain of the past. "I forgive you." And she truly meant it, for holding on to bitterness would only sour the beautiful future ahead. They moved forward cautiously but hopefully. Mrs. Attawale took a particular shine to Uzo once she learned of his good grades and his artistic talents. He reminded her of a young Raymond, eager to prove himself and full of potential. By the end of the evening, Raymond's father even patted Uzo's shoulder, and inquired if he'd like to intern at the family company during holidays to learn the ropes. A gesture that left Uzo beaming and Raymond pleasantly surprised. It seemed bridges were slowly being rebuilt. A month later, Evelyn and Raymond were married in a small, intimate ceremony at the church near Evelyn's old neighborhood, the same church she had attended as a girl. Evelyn walked down the aisle on the arm of her proud son, while Raymond waited for her at the altar with tears in his eyes. She looked radiant and healthy, her face glowing with happiness. When they exchanged vows, there wasn't a dry eye among the friends and family present. Even Raymond's father discreetly wiped away a tear as he watched his son finally marry the woman he truly loved. For Uzo, it was the happiest day of his life. Dressed smartly as his father's best man, he witnessed his parents unite at last. He felt tears of joy seeing his mother smile brighter than he'd ever seen, and hearing his father's voice crack with emotion as he pledged to love and protect them both for all time. When the officiant declared them husband and wife, Uzo was the first to whoop in celebration as Raymond kissed Evelyn tenderly to applause. That evening at the small reception in the church hall, Raymond pulled Uzo aside for a moment. With emotion in his voice, he said, "I missed your birth, your first steps, your first words, but I promise I will be there for every important moment from now on." Uzo, with the earnestness of youth and tears in his eyes, simply hugged his father tightly and said, "I'm just happy I get to have you now, Dad." Looking around the room, Uzo saw his mother laughing warmly as she chatted with Raymond's mother, the ice truly melting between them. He saw his grandfather, Mr. Attawale, giving a rare smile as he spoke to Silas, who had finally been reached and came jubilantly to give his sister away. The once fragmented pieces of his family were coming together as one. As the night wound down, the newly formed family of 3 stepped outside for a breath of fresh air. The Lagos sky was sprinkled with stars, and a soft breeze carried the distant sounds of the lively city. Evelyn stood between Raymond and Uzo, holding both their hands. She leaned her head on Raymond's shoulder, and Uzo leaned into her. They stayed like that for a quiet moment, each lost in gratitude for this miracle of togetherness. Evelyn broke the silence, her voice filled with contentment. 17 years ago, I thought I lost everything, she said softly. But life has a way of surprising us. I got a wonderful son out of that heartbreak. And now I have you again, Raymond. She looked up at him with love. It's more than I could have ever dreamed. Raymond kissed her forehead and then looked at Uzo with pride. I think we are the lucky ones, Evelyn. Uzo and I, we found the heart of our family in you. Uzo nodded, smiling. And I got my family back. I got my dad. And I've never seen Mum this happy. He squeezed his mother's hand gently, eyes shining. Raymond crouched a bit to be at eye level with his son. We're all going to be happy now. It won't always be perfect, but we'll face everything together, all right? That's what family means. Uzo smiled widely and for the first time said, I love you, Dad. The words made Raymond's heart soar. He pulled Uzo in for a hug. I love you too, son. Evelyn wrapped her arms around both of them, adding softly, and I love you both, more than anything. In that embrace under the night sky, their story came full circle. A love that was once torn apart by pride and prejudice had overcome all obstacles. A chance phone call, a mistaken number, turned out to be a twist of fate that reunited a family meant to be together. Evelyn's health was on the mend. Raymond had found the 2 people who truly completed his life, and Uzo finally had the father, and the larger family, he had always quietly wished for. It was a journey marked by tears, regret, and years of hardship. But in the end, it was also a story of forgiveness, unwavering love, and hope. The poor boy's desperate call to a rich CEO had led to a reunion that shocked everyone and changed their lives forever. And as they stood there holding each other, they knew that whatever challenges the future held, they would face them as a family, healed, reunited, and stronger than ever. The most important lesson in this story is that true love, no matter how deeply buried by time, distance, rejection, or hardship, will always find its way back when destiny is ready. And even the most painful separations or accidental mistakes, like a wrongly sent message, can become the very path through which healing, family, and long-lost happiness are restored. The most important lesson in this story is that true love, no matter how deeply buried by time, distance, rejection, or hardship, will always find its way back when destiny is ready. And even the most painful separations or accidental mistakes, like a wrongly sent message, can become the very path through which healing, family, and long-lost happiness are restored. Thank you for watching this story on Afro Tales TV. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and share with friends and family. We have more beautiful stories coming your way, so subscribe and stay tuned. See you in the next one.